To 6.8, presentation of proclamation designating the week of May 5th through 11th as Correctional Officers Week in Lake County. Is coming up.
All right. We got everyone. All right. Excellent. And so I'd like to start off with just acknowledging that I'm glad to see that this is, and I think we are all glad to see this as a standalone. As we all know, the Sheriff's Department's, one of their initial responsibilities is to operate the jail. And if that doesn't happen, we don't have deputies on the street. And that's even more prevalent now since we've been dealing with a lot of these different budget cuts and initiatives that are, passed through the state and whatnot. So getting these folks in their positions, making them feel appreciated, their morale, they have to deal with a lot, And I'll just add one last thing. I know for me, as a young man, 26 years ago, 2 correctional officers set me straight. Lyle Thomas and Frank Goodmanson, who was my coach, right? So right after that, I joined the Army, right after I fell into my whole little spat, So they not only serve in that capacity, but they're also mentors. They know people. They were coaches. They're in the community. So they see some young men in there, and they're like, hey, what are you doing? So there's a lot going on there. So I will start with the proclamation here. So we're designating May 5th through 11th, 2024 as Correctional Officers Week in Lake County, whereas the operation of correctional and detention facilities housing millions of prisoners and detainees throughout the nation represents a crucial component of our criminal justice system, and whereas no public servant has a more difficult or less publicly visible job than the men and women who ensure the safety, containment, and control of the human beings charged to their care, while sustaining uncompromised regard for their dignity and constitutional rights. And whereas correctional personnel must remain constantly vigilant in terms of their own safety, as well as protecting inmates from the violence of other prisoners and at time from inflicting harm on themselves. And whereas correctional personnel work under demanding circumstances and face danger in their daily work lives, often sacrificing personal and family time to provide a necessary but often thankless and unrecognized service to the public. Whereas correctional personnel are charged with protecting the rights of public and safeguarding the public from criminals in their custody, while at the same time encouraging prisoners to develop skills and attitudes that can help them become productive members of society after their release. And now, therefore be it proclaimed, the County of Lake Board of Supervisors designates the week of May 5th, 11th, 2024 as Correctional Officers Week in Lake County, encourages all citizens of Lake County to join in recognizing the commitment of all custody staff who maintain the safety and security of our correctional and detention facilities, passed and adopted this 7th day of May 2024, signed, the Chair of the Board of Supervisors, Bruno Sabatier. Speaking of skipping forward, I skipped a paragraph. That's why I went back. I was like, wait.
Good morning. I'd like to thank the board for this proclamation, and of course, thank the men and women who do this job. Locally, statewide, nationwide, whether we title you as a deputy sheriff, corrections, correctional officer, custodial officer, this proclamation is kind of all encompassing. Kind of hold a soft spot for me. I started my career as a correctional officer here. I learned so much about dealing with people, so much about de-escalation, developed such a respect for the men and women who do the job. They come to work every day and work in an environment with, quite frankly, some of the worst society has to offer. They work in an environment where many of the people there would like to do them harm if they had half a chance, and they do that 24/7. There's no time off there. I'm very appreciative of what they do. As EJ kind of talked about, they're a little bit behind the scenes, but nothing happens in law enforcement, nothing happens in public safety without them. Very valuable. I appreciate them. I know this board appreciates them, and thank you again for the proclamation.
Sure. Anybody else have any supervisors?
I I'm also grateful to see this as a standalone proclamation because this has to be one of the most difficult jobs in our county. And you do it with patience and grace and respect. And so you have our respect and our deep appreciation for this every day.
If I can just add, I was grateful that I was able to attend the ceremony where you swore in a bunch of new deputies, including your correctional deputies, and there was no difference. It was teamwork. You were all team Lake County sheriffs, and you're right. You start your career there. It's an unheralded career, and for many people, we'll never know how much they're contributing. But I just want to acknowledge that we know and we appreciate. And in addition to the hires for corrections and seeing the other deputies, I just want to congratulate you and staff on really making forward strides in a very difficult staffing environment. It's really good to see.